All right, we're live. Chuck, another day, another
Good.
dollar, man. How are you?
Tested. 1, 2. I'm good, Mike. How you doing, sir?
Doing well, man. Doing well. We were just talking a little bit offline about weekend plans and whatnot, and going to weddings and all that. And it's funny you mentioned that because I guess maybe I'm stretching here, but the connection between that, what we're about to talk about, is just experience, right? I'm sure the wedding was one of a kind, not because of the food or how much your tux cost or whatever to be in the wedding, but it was all about the experience you had, the stories you're able to tell, and just reliving those memories.
Definitely. It's always a one of a kind experience, whether good or bad, right? That's the thing
Yeah.
about experiences. They go one of these two directions. And so, it was definitely a great experience. Good time, family, friends. And it's not saying before overreach, but I could definitely see the experience, saying how it comes to play
Right.
here.
Well,
Definitely
maybe a bit of a
possible.
stretch, but
Yeah.
I figured a good way to connect, right? Open up on the weekend plans. But the reason we're here chatting now is to talk about customer experience, right? So we're in a very strange time right now where how we conduct business, how we communicate, how we connect with people is very different from how it was even a year ago, even 2 years ago. And, just looking at the landscape of the automotive world right now, I think that it's very important that we talk about customer experience because, as you said, that's make or break. It's going to essentially bring you back or kind of push you away and not want to go back to a business. So, really wanted to spend some time talking about customer experience because now I feel like that is the most important part of the entire buying journey.
Yeah, definitely. The how they improve it, right? More important, how they improve that. If I will be specific, that automotive customer buying journey, right? Right. That's the experience we're talking about. What does that experience look like? Is it positive? Is it negative? Does it make you want to come back? Does it make you want to refer a friend or family member? Right? Does it make you want to buy another vehicle there? Or
Right.
does it make you want to leave a negative review? Does it make you want to run far away? Does it make you want to tell everyone the worst possible news about that particular place because of the experience you had, right? Because the reality is kind of bad news travels faster than good news. And so if they have a negative experience and a negative kind of buying journey, then they won't purchase and it will spread fast. But that's the reality, right? And so I
Yeah,
think we got a good topic today: how to improve, how to improve that customer buying journey, so we can prevent people from having those negative experiences.
exactly. So we've talked a little bit about why customer experience matters, just to kind of add to that a little bit more. You can no longer sell solely on price.
Mm-hmm.
Manufacturers are more and more telling dealerships you have to basically advertise as the same price as the guy down the street. There's a lot less room for differentiation, right? And I think that you see it with the existence of things like a Carvana or a CarMax, where
Mm-hmm.
customers are probably going to even pay more than what they would pay for a pre-owned vehicle at a dealership simply because they don't want to deal with the hassle or they feel like it's going to be a very stress-free experience. Almost like Carvana looks like one of those big, bubblegum machines. You throw a couple quarters, you get your
Mm-hmm.
football helmet, you put the stickers on it, right? A little face mask. It's very simple, right? So we're in a world now where consumer expectations are sky high. People want an
Yep.
answer and they want it right away, and they
On
really don't want to
demand.
be bothered. On demand,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Very well put. They don't care as much about price. I mean, price certainly matters, but it's really just giving them a reason to return, right? It's that social proof and all the things you mentioned. Word of mouth
Yep.
travels extremely fast, and the better that word of mouth, the higher your CSI scores are going to be, the more positive reviews you're going to get, the more
Yep.
engagement you're going to get on social media, and ultimately, it's going to help you with retaining your customers.
Big facts. Big facts. I totally agree. Customer experience. And this is again for the journey. This is the initial experience they had. What does that experience look
Hmm.
like from when they visit you for the first time online, right, or the first time they step foot on your dealership, right? What does that experience look like? How does it begin? And so let's get into some of these tips, right? What we got 8 tips on ways dealerships can improve their automotive buying journey. Let's get into this.
First thing I want to say, I guess the first idea that comes to mind for me is a customer appreciation event. And, you certainly see this quite a bit with Highlines, like it's a, Lexus or whatever the case may be. You buy a vehicle, they want a new owner's event, right? Come on down, get to know the technology, understand, how to work the nav, how to set up your CarPlay, whatever the case may be. It's a good time for people to meet other buyers like them. People want to conduct business and really feel comfortable when they're around people like them. So if they see, here's somebody else who just bought a vehicle, what do they do about, the overhead air? Let's say they have a baby in the car seat, something I can relate to right now. How do I get some air in the space if we don't have an overhead, AC vent? So, getting people that are with other buyers just like them, on-site events. You can offer refreshments, show them the service drive. Hey, when you do need service, here's where you get that done. Here's what the whole process looks like. Exactly. So that can be done both physically and digitally. I, of course, think physically, if you're capable of doing it, will be better. But just solely making it about the customers. We're not trying to sell you anything. We're just trying to make you more familiar with the business, make you more familiar with the community, and make you familiar with your vehicle.
Definitely. Customer appreciation events tend to work. And if I could sprinkle in a little digital marketing value there, the other benefit of a customer appreciation event is the link building and content creation opportunity, right? If you're a dealership in your local industry, in your local community, right, and you're doing this appreciation event, then this is a good time to communicate with like the local media, local news, local radio, who will likely publish this event, share links to it. You kind of had it published on your website and the event created. And so now not only do you have an event that actually customers can appreciate and come to and get value, you create some content and some things you can share online, right, that'll help your site rank, that help get more people to your website as well. So customer appreciation events, that's a good way to start.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point there too on, using that as an extended content, life cycle, show what's going on at the dealership, get you some SEO friendly copy that's going to help you rank in those search engines, get you some rich media, photos, videos. Not only can you share that on social, throw some alt tags, some alt image text, all that's going to help you rank a little bit better on there. So yeah, I mean, I'm especially glad you mentioned that last part, because that's just another way to kill two birds with one stone. So to that, I know you had a couple ideas in your bag too, so I figure we can go back and forth, tit for tat.
Cool. So one of the things I thought about for improving the automotive kind of customer journey, right, was incentivize the repair service, right? Especially when we're talking about used cars, right? So people who there's going to be certain repairs that'll be necessary after a certain period of time, and you got another set of repairs that just need to happen consistently, right? Or changes, tune-ups, things like that. And so I think that in this day and age, with everything being so much, no contact, right? Well, we're literally virtual right now. And so I think that in the automotive industry, one of the ways you could improve the customer experience is by helping with incentivizing some of the services that they need to get all the time, right? So if it's a mobile oil change or a mobile tune-up, or if it's a pre-scheduled, prepaid kind of repair service that they can come in, pick up, drop off situation with minimal contact, that's easy for the experience, already scheduled so they know it's coming, right? Just different things you can incentivize for today's buyer, right?
Right.
But today's buyer that would probably go along the way in helping them make the decision to purchase the vehicle. And so my tip is kind of for improving the customer experience, yeah, definitely incentivize the auto repair service.
It's funny you mentioned that. I worked with a dealership a couple years back, and they had a problem with foot traffic for service. They didn't get a lot of people scheduling service ahead of time. They'll take the business any way they can get it, but they weren't able to.
With people just coming in.
Yeah, but they couldn't really plan as well, So some days they'd get a rush of people. They didn't have the proper amount of staff. So they started an initiative called Skip the Line, where if you schedule ahead of time, you actually get priority service, and that seems a little bit like, you get the haves and the have-nots, but I mean, you go to the movie theaters now, they got different reward programs where you get to skip the line based on your,
Yep.
your status, right? So I'm with you on that. It's incentivizing them to take care of their vehicle, but there are some creative things you can do, not only to take care of your customers, but multi-beneficial. You can use it to kind of, plan business and
Exactly.
coverage a little bit better too.
Yeah, people are just automated. People are scheduling. You know what the times will look like, what type of vehicles are coming in. You can definitely, make better decisions from a process perspective, right? Who's working today, what our operation look like, those type of decisions.
Right.
Good one, definitely. From simply incentivizing the repair services.
Right. Exactly. So I think that's a perfect segue into my next one. And this one might be kind of a given, but have some perks in the service drive. Coffee and Wi-Fi should be a given. Like those should just be automatically included. But you can have other refreshments.
And water.
And water. And water. Yes.
And I only say this is a slug at the Jeep dealership I go to. They got coffee and refreshments. It's never water.
Water's important, very important. You got to have that on tap somehow. But if you're in a community or a very family friendly community, and you might have a lot of children, kind of tagging along with their folks and they're getting service done. Maybe you have some video games. Maybe you kind of have like a child play activity area. It's going to be a way to kind of get them out of the parents' hair. You almost want to, nowadays, with everybody having so much going on and constantly having to knock out errands, help people multitask. If they're there getting their service done, maybe, mom or grandma wants to get their nails done too. You see this with Highline dealerships where they might have a nail salon within the spot. Or maybe you could partner with local spots. I know that's an idea that you mentioned before too.
Yeah, you could definitely put this is good time to build some kind of community involvement, right? If you're a dealership that's in a busy area, and you can partner with local nail salons, local retail stores, and kind of offer discounts or coupons, whatever it may be, to help them. That really helps your customer, right? Or even on the internal spot, like I like the high end dealerships that tend to offer like a nail bar and things like that. But think about your executives, right? You talked about a children's play area, but you could offer business class, right? Business office where there's internet, there's printers, there's this and that, where people can get a meeting in. Like you can literally meet me at the dealership while I'm getting my car serviced, right? And I can have meetings here because I'm here for 2 hours or whatever the process is gonna take, right?
Right.
So I would definitely create perks, like you said, that customers can take advantage of. And not just that the salesperson can pitch, right? At the end of the day, things that help them during their buying journey. And so,
right. Well, because a lot of the time you're not only selling the product, the vehicle itself, but just like I mentioned, you can't differentiate as much anymore based on price. So in a lot of ways, you have to sell people on the dealership. So what are the perks? What's going on in the dealership that's going to keep people there coming back and not feeling like they're missing out? I really like the idea you mentioned on like the, having a meeting room or an area that you can say, I can't get my oil changed because I got a ton of meetings today. Well, you got a meeting room. I can knock a bunch of them out while I'm waiting.
Yep, exactly. So that's a good one. So my next one, after you said service drive perks, that would be a good one. I'll jump back online. I think for number 4, I'll say improve the online experience. Right, improve the online experience, and I would also add to that by automating as much as possible. Right, I think that's how you improve the online experience, by automating as much as possible. And so I think that when we talk about today's buyer, right, our millennials, our Gen Zers, these guys are, and then I'm with X, right, and so we're still buying cars too. I mean, everybody's shopping, but we got an influx of millennials and Zers purchasing right now, and so everything is automated for them. Everything is there was an easy transition to virtual for them, right? That's the reality compared to most of the buyers in the world. And so you have to complement that, right? If they're spending, I think it was the Auto News reported that millennials spend over 17 hours doing research online before they get to the dealers. right? And so if that's the case, right, if we know that these people are looking and researching and pointing, they're clicking, they're getting all this data, then it's important that we make sure that the online experience is great, right? Site loads fast, they see what they want to see, they're able to engage socially if need be, they can see testimonials and reviews. I put on my notes, use more video, because every site has a bunch of photos, right? Inside out all these photos, but what if your site had a full video describing this vehicle? You know, had inside, outside from a real personal perspective, and not necessarily, you know, some kind of stock footage that all of these dealerships should have. You know, do something that kind of separates itself, right?
Right.
And so definitely improve the online experience. I think is a way that can definitely help improve that automotive buying journey for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of getting up with the times, right? You know, making that experience as seamless as possible. So, I mean, you might have people who are researching the vehicle. They're thinking, hey, I want to see what this vehicle looks like on the road. I don't have time to do a test drive. I need to find something. If you can provide that video on your website, instead of, you know, kind of encouraging the customer to bounce and go to YouTube or Car and Driver. Hey, if you've got the review videos on your site, keep them there. We have a product, of course, Wheels TV, that shows just about every vehicle in inventory from 08 to current model year of on-the-road vehicle test drives, video test drives, walk-arounds, all of that. So you've got that. We've also got Fast Review, you know, shows all of your most relevant reviews on one page on the site. Try to keep people from bouncing. And, you know, this kind of reminds me of, you mentioned kind of before you're owning a home, your last apartment experience and what that was like, kind of understanding what the floor plan looked like. So if you could detail that, I think that's a perfect example of what we can kind of mimic in the automotive industry as well. Definitely.
When I rented my last apartment, it was one of those situations where I did it all online. You know, dictated the area where I wanted to live at. Found, you know, apartments in that area that were within my budget that I wanted to spend. Start doing online tours, right? 3D tours and video tours of the different apartments and facilities and benefits and all of that. Made a decision, put down a deposit, and got approved, and didn't see the apartment until moving day, right? And so I think that the current car buying experience is similar. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I just bought a vehicle for my daughter. We spent time online looking, trying to find out where the vehicles were. And with today's market so crazy, a lot of dealerships had cars one day and they were going, not even the next day, later that day, right?
Yeah.
And then they had other dealerships who just didn't have inventory at all. And so we had to do a bunch of research and then make a quick decision, right? And so in that case, it was still finding it, where we wanted to go, how much we wanted to spend, and then when we got there, it was like, okay, yeah, this is the car, right? And so definitely the online experience helped there. It definitely helped for sure.
This one is very similar to your last one with, you know, improving the online experience. My next bullet point would be to have your website actually match your store. You know, have them look the same. You know, if you've got an upgraded logo or facade or whatever the case may be at the dealership, show that on the website, show the new storefront, show the updated logo. The other thing too is, you know, while people are using the website for their shopping resources and they're, you know, maybe screenshotting prices or, you know, different APR incentives or whatever the case may be, I think you should still have your specials listed at the store. You know, this way, when people come in, think of it this way: when you see an ad and you click on the ad and it takes you to a landing page that is almost identical to the ad and has a lot of the same beats included, it's kind of the same thing. If I'm looking at your website and I go to the store, I want that landing spot to look a lot like what I saw online. I want to know what the specials are. I want to know, you know, what all the current events are going on. You know, it's very simple to put point of sale materials up and some different logos and whatnot. Don't have the customers rely solely on the website. Make them aware of all your trade programs, incentives, new buyer clinics, whatever the case may be. Have your store actually match your digital representation.
I'll take it a step further than that, because I just gave you an example about I just purchased a vehicle with my daughter, right? I mean, on the visual level, literally, have your dealership match your website. Because one time, the challenge we ran into, Mike, was that we were looking at cars like in the dealership website is nice, right? Nice looking website. It loads fast, it's optimized for all these images on here. Looks like a huge dealership, right? Looks like a big dealership, a bunch of cars. And so we see some cars we like, get the address, right? Put it in the GPS, we head out. We passed it up twice. Passed it up like this. It was a small car lot on the side. Looked like it was at an old gas station. Right? It's like, okay, that can't be the lot that we was looking at online. Literally passed it up twice. GPS said U-turn. Like, okay, hold on. Maybe that was it, And so literally, match your website to your dealership, right? So, and you alluded to that earlier. If you have pictures from outside the storefront, things like that. Hey, we saw a storefront picture, we would have recognized, right? But we storefront pictures, we saw new cars and things like that, right? And we didn't see the dealership on-site branding that we saw online.
Right.
And so you're absolutely right there. Match your website to your dealership for sure.
Well, especially, for us being in like the greater Houston area, we're familiar with businesses being tucked behind a little exit or something like that. So if your dealership or your business in general isn't immediately recognizable on the side of the road, mention that on the website. Hey, exit here, U-turn, we're behind the Citgo, whatever, the 7-Eleven, just don't assume people are going to find you and make it easy over there,
Definitely. So with that, I'll keep going. My next one was communicate with messaging, right? And this is a kind of real quick tip. But again, if we're talking about improving the customer buying journey, right, and we understand that our current customers who are buying are millennials. I think that was it was I don't know, but they reported that 38% of car sales in 2020 were from millennials. 38%, that's almost half, right? Were from millennials. That's a lot. That's more than a third, right? And so I'm looking at it like, okay, if a third of the people coming here are these people, then how do they communicate, right? They communicate with messaging, whether it's text messages, whether it's private messaging, whether it's a Facebook message or a DM, a direct message, right? If you can incorporate specific type of text messaging within your buying journey, right? And so not emails, right? Because they rarely check emails, not phone calls, because most millennials don't like to talk on the phone, right? They prefer to text. And so incorporate texting for follow-up services, incorporate texting for financial approval, right? Incorporate texting for test drive schedules or whatever, however you communicate at which point. If you can message them and dig this, right? If you were to do that through the social platform, right? So let's say this potential buyer happened to follow us on Instagram, right? Because we posted a car that we had and they followed us and they initiated the conversation. Yo, is this car still available? We can continue DMing throughout the entire process.
Right.
There's no need to start calling you, right? No need to start emailing you until maybe we need some signing or something, but like speak with messaging because that's how the current buyer is speaking, right? So that's
Yeah, and I think you made a lot of good points there. It's just, what's the easiest listing? I mean, if you've already got the conversation engaged, carry it out there. I mean, I'm sure for some, they want to make a phone call to check a box so they can put in their CRM. But if you already have the buyer and they're already actively engaged, do your negotiating there. Make note. I would certainly make note in the CRM, customer likes DMing, put their preferences, which is another thing that you can do to really kind of enhance that customer experience is by tailoring it to the way that they want to be spoken with. One of the products we have, being Connect Chat, is going to connect people with a human to actually have a conversation. So that's yet another service that we have, another tool that we have in the fusionZONE arsenal that can help with the overall shopping experience. But I think you make a really good point here, and understand your audience and speak to your audience in the way that your audience would like to be spoken with. 100%.
Yeah, because the reality for us is, like in reference to Connect Chat, with all of the clients we have, and I know that's one of our tools that is on both of our client sites. If we ran the numbers, I would bet a paycheck that with the bulk of the people using the Connect Chat service are millennials, right? that's just kind of the reality of it. And so because they're interested in getting that answer right then, and so you're absolutely right. This is a great product. So what's your next?
So next one I have is just kind of looking at what my next one is taking what you've done with kind of the COVID forced innovation and sticking with it. And by that, I mean, last year really forced people's hands in being creative and thinking outside the box. And, you saw people start doing driveway deliveries, hey, we'll do all the work, all the F&I offline, and then we'll literally deliver your newly purchased vehicle to your house. Some dealerships started doing that. We started seeing some do offsite test drives. Like, hey, we're going to take everybody that's partnered up with this business, which again, we're talking about partnership opportunities earlier. You could say, hey, we know that there's a, business park over there with a bunch of businesses. We're going to take some of our top models to this lot and have people come and test drive it there because it's convenient for them, right? So you might even see, mobile service, whether it's like an oil change, rotations, simple things that you can do on the go, maybe not necessarily, any kind of major transmission work, but quick, hey, we'll do your oil change in your driveway. So the point that I would have is if COVID and quarantine and the times forced innovation for you last year, don't make it temporary. Consider making this a long stay as a differentiator, as a unique selling proposition, a reason for people to return. Because if you make that automotive customer buying experience tip top, they will return.
Well, and the reality is, I'm pretty sure most businesses who kind of went through the pandemic and survived, the businesses who made those type of adjustments saw an increase, right? Like I know plenty of for example, people in the restaurant industry who you made an adjustment to offer, delivery and offer this and that, and now you had to hire. Right? You had to hire to compensate for all of this. And even some of the restaurants now that are opening back up, right? They're reopening, but they had a whole section of the parking lot that's still there for pickup and delivery because that's such a huge portion of business now. And so I think the same will follow suit with dealerships, right? If you made adjustments to sustain during the pandemic, then as things tend to change, right, keep those adjustments in place, right? Because there'll be some people who become comfortable with moving that way, and then the reality is, I'm not going somewhere for a while, and so you need to kind of not only keep them in place, but grow on them, build on them. How can you improve them? How can you make them better? Right? I totally agree with that one. No need to start going backwards.
Right.
No need to start going backwards. So what I have here, and I think I'll kind of wrap up with this one, is improve the transparency, because I think it kind of brings it all together. At the end of the day, if we're gonna offer these kind of incentives, if you're going to communicate via DM and things like that, if you're going to really improve that journey, then you have to improve the transparency of the whole thing. Because I know that with me, when I was buying cars younger, and even recently, sometimes. Yeah, the brain fog comes in during the financial process, right?
Yeah.
Thousands of pieces of paper and this finance or that, and the back and forth between the sales rep and he getting the financial man and all these other things, right? That makes the process like And so I think that when you can make it transparent there, that's why I like the fast lane leads. I like the fast lane leads because of that process. I had a chance to demo it, and I was like, okay, this is kind of dope. This literally almost removes the salesperson and the finance manager, right? Up until the point where I'm ready to pay. And then I can kind of proceed. And so I think that's a good way to kind of improve transparency. Right? You can see the numbers, you can see your down payment amount, you can see all of these things that people would usually have to kind of report to you about. Now you can see it, hands-on in the palm of your hand or on your computer, wherever you're at. And so, but that level of transparency is what's needed. It's the point I was making whatever type of vehicle you're purchasing, it's a certain journey you're gonna go through, and that experience must be positive in order for you to have to complete the journey. For sure.
Well, I'm glad too that you mentioned that it's needed, because it is. It's outright
necessary.
Expectation. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's a customer expectation at this point where, eventually we're in the information era. Eventually I'm going to get the information that you're trying to keep tucked in your sleeve. Just put it out there right up front. Help me understand what my down payment's going to be. Help me understand what my trade is going to be. Consumers are very apprehensive, I should say, about conducting business with somebody who's, their card's up and the guy they're conducting business with, cards down, just kind of looking at the information. They're going to make them a little bit wary. And again, we're trying to find reasons to have people return. If they have kind of an off-putting, standoffish experience, they feel like they're the last person to find out the information. Bad vibes, 100%. They're not going to come back. They will not come back. So yeah, it's outright a necessity to be transparent. And like you mentioned, Fastlane Leads does give you pretty much, here's what it's going to cost you. What are we doing? Here's the info. Are we going on a date or not? So yeah, I think these are all really good ideas to really bolstering that automotive customer journey. We'd definitely be curious about hearing some of your own, people out there watching. If you have any of your own ideas that you've seen have really worked and really just kind of bolstered that whole customer journey, please share. We also would like to hear from you all. Be sure to shout us out in the comments. Let us know what some of the dealership challenges that you're facing. We'd love to hear from you all. Love to put together a couple of different videos directly speaking to what those challenges are. A couple of other videos that we have coming soon. We're going to talk a little bit about trade ideas and how to bring in more inventory amidst all the inventory challenges going on right now. We're going to talk a little bit about the electric vehicle market, helping to educate customers, because I think that's the number one challenge more than anything.
A lot of questions about EV out there. A bunch of questions about EV out there.
A lot of questions, a lot of, lifestyle kind of things that you don't even think about. I mean, what's the equivalent of an oil change? What's the equivalent of pumping gas? What happens if you run out of charge and you don't really have a spot around anywhere nearby? So we're going to talk some of that, as well as some of the good, bad, and the ugly of digital marketing. But yeah, I mean, with that, I think my last point to this would be focus on the journey. Focus on the journey, because that is what's most important.
I couldn't say it no better than that, man.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning. We will check in with you all soon, and be sure to join the Facebook group, share the word, add us in the comments. We'll talk to you soon.